American vision of democracy.
We had no doubt the most dynamic economy in the world. We had a society where human rights and freedom of expression and opportunities for political participation were unparalleled. We had a great deal of self-confidence. We felt that we had a repository of knowledge and experience about democratic government that would be useful in other societies as well. And may I say, so did many Japanese.
When the Americans came, I was so surprised how big they were. I used to hang out with the GIs and I would ask them, "Hey, what's your name? Where do you come from?" Many people wondered what kind of trouble there would be when the Americans came, but there really wasn't any. I think most Japanese felt they were being liberated.
The occupation idea was to remold the Japanese, recast them in our mold, remake Japan. We're going to create a new democracy.
Are problems in the brain inside of the Japanese head. There are 70 million of these in Japan. Physically no different than any other brains in the world. Actually all made of exactly the same stuff as ours. These brains, like our brains, can do good things or bad things, all depending on the kind of ideas that are put inside. We're here to make it clear to the Japanese that their time has now come to make sense. Modern, civilized sense. That is our job in Japan.
Such an ambitious mission demanded an ambitious leader, General Douglas MacArthur. MacArthur was anointed Supreme Commander of the Allied Powers. The abbreviation, SCAP, came to be the name of the entire Occupation Command.
He wanted the occupation to be a success and to be a monument to his memory. The Japanese adore MacArthur. He wrapped himself in more clouds of mystery than even the emperor, and that is just the way they want it.
MacArthur was like a force of nature. He was like the river that flows or the wind that blows. Very few people thought of MacArthur as the enemy. It was just as if a new emperor had arrived.
The new emperor was charged with the task of remaking the image of the old emperor. During the war, Hirohito was a symbol of national unity. Now, many wanted to try him as a war criminal.
MacArthur was very old-fashioned. He believed in royalty. He regarded himself as royalty. And every time Dean Acheson or someone in Washington would say, "Hang Hirohito," he would say, "Blood will flow in the streets. We're not going to touch that man."
MacArthur believed that the emperor held a special power over his people. If he was a god to the Japanese, then he could work miracles for the occupation.
Finally, in the third week of September, word came circuitously. The emperor would like to come and pay his respects. Would that be all right? And MacArthur said, "Well, about time he recognizes I'm here." The emperor arrived promptly. I saluted very smartly, and I took the emperor's hat, said "Heiko Boshi," and he looked quite startled. He didn't want me to take his hat, but once I had started the motion, I did. As I led the emperor to MacArthur, MacArthur strode toward them to make it very clear that they were meeting as equals. No one was standing still and the other coming to them. And he said, "You're very, very welcome, sir." And it was the lowest I had ever seen any Japanese bow. He bowed all the way down, so that the handshake was over the emperor's head. And then MacArthur simply took the interpreter and the emperor into the large drawing room. But first they posed for a picture. And in the first picture, the general blinked. In the second picture, the emperor had his mouth open and started to walk away. And then the third picture was the one that you normally see, because the one with the general blinking can't be printed in America, the one with the emperor's mouth can't be printed in Japan, so there's only the one.
For many, the photograph symbolized the new relationship between the Americans and the Japanese, and the new roles of MacArthur and the emperor. The first broadcast of the emperor's voice had ended the war. Then he renounced his divinity. Now he tried to soothe the fears of famine among his people, but they were skeptical of the power of their former god.
When the war ended, I was in China, in Shanghai. I was a prisoner of war. I returned to Japan in 1946. When I arrived, there was widespread unemployment. Inflation was severe, and there wasn't enough to eat. My own house had been burned to the ground.
6 million civilians and soldiers returned to a country that could not support them. In the cities, the Japanese lived in rubble. In the countryside, bad harvests cut the food supply in half. There were 13 million unemployed. Food was rationed, but newspapers carried reports of death by starvation.
In 1945 and 1946, there were still people living in piles of rubble. The contrast between what Americans had and what the Japanese had was so startling that the natural assumption would be that they had done everything wrong and that we had the secret of success.
Yes, folks, this is Army life in Tokyo. One phase of it anyhow. Roof garden, Japanese dancing girls, and everything. Not bad, what? Excuse it, please. Joe's seen better. A Jap jazz band, too, for Joe and Mrs. Joe. And the Ernie Pyle Canteen looks just like home. When you put it to music, this job of occupation in Nippon could be worse.
Japanese are a rather pragmatic people, and their system had failed them completely. And any number of times, walking along the Ginza, young people would come up and ask me, what is democracy? Just tell me what is democracy, so that we can adopt democracy, and in that way Japan can recover and become a great and respected country once again.
長い間お世話になりました。その懐かしい福島の山々は皆さんの温かいお心は今でも忘れることはできません。僕たちは次の日本を建設するために陣を捧げてやり抜く覚悟です。ではさようなら。
軍国主義の時代、戦争、
War, fight, fight. That's all we'd been hearing for years. Then after the defeat, suddenly everything was democracy.